It started like a rumor, but within days, it exploded into something no one could ignore. Thousands of fans weren't just suggesting Sam Heughan as the next James Bond, they were demanding it, loudly and relentlessly across every major platform. Hashtags surged, petitions gained signatures at an alarming pace, and fan-made trailers began circulating as if the casting had already been decided. What made it even more shocking was how organized it all felt, as if this wasn't just enthusiasm, but a movement. For years, the question of who would replace Daniel Craig has been one of the most closely watched mysteries in Hollywood. The role of James Bond isn't just another casting decision, it's a cultural reset, a moment that defines an era of cinema. Every name that surfaces is dissected, debated, and often dismissed just as quickly. But Sam Heughan's sudden rise in this conversation didn't follow the usual pattern. It was driven from the ground up, powered almost entirely by fans. The momentum built fast, almost too fast to feel natural. Within hours, clips of Sam from Outlander and other projects were edited into Bond-style sequences, complete with dramatic music, tailored suits, and iconic one-liners. Some of these edits were so convincing that casual viewers genuinely questioned whether they were watching official screen tests. And that's when things shifted, from wishful thinking to something that felt almost real. Fans began listing their reasons with surprising precision. They pointed to his physical presence, strong, refined, undeniably fitting the classic Bond silhouette. They highlighted his experience in action-driven roles, his ability to balance intensity with charm, and most importantly, his ability to carry a character that feels both powerful and emotionally layered. In their eyes, he wasn't just a good option, he was the perfect one, the missing piece in a casting puzzle that had yet to be solved. As the campaign grew, it started to spill beyond fan communities and into mainstream attention. Influencers picked it up, entertainment pages began reposting clips, and even casual audiences who weren't initially invested found themselves drawn into the debate. It wasn't just about Sam anymore, it became a larger question about influence, about whether a fan-driven movement could actually shape a decision traditionally controlled behind closed doors. But with that surge in support came something inevitable: pushback. Not everyone was convinced that Sam Heughan was the right fit for James Bond, and the counterarguments were just as strong, just as passionate. Some critics argued that Bond required a different kind of edge, something less familiar, less tied to a single iconic role. Others believed the franchise might be looking for a complete reinvention, someone unexpected rather than someone already established in a similar space. The conversation quickly split into two distinct sides, each building their case with increasing intensity. One side saw Sam as the natural evolution of Bond, someone who could honor the legacy while bringing a modern depth to the character. The other side viewed him as too predictable, too safe, arguing that the next Bond needed to break away from expectations rather than fulfill them. What started as excitement had now turned into a full-scale debate. Amid all this noise, one detail stood out more than anything else: Sam himself remained completely silent. No acknowledgement of the campaign, no subtle hints, no attempt to either encourage or shut down the speculation. For some fans, this silence felt strategic, almost mysterious, as if he was aware of the movement but choosing not to interfere. For others, it raised questions: was he even interested, or was this entire wave happening without his involvement at all? As days passed, the campaign showed no signs of slowing down. If anything, it became more refined, more deliberate, with fans creating coordinated efforts to keep the conversation trending. It wasn't just about being heard anymore, it was about being impossible to ignore. And for the first time, it started to feel like this wasn't just a passing trend, but something that might actually reach the people who make the final decision. Because when a movement grows this loud, this fast, and this persistent, it forces a question that Hollywood can't easily dismiss. Not whether Sam Heughan should be the next James Bond, but whether ignoring a global wave of support like this is even possible anymore. As the campaign continued to dominate timelines and headlines, the conversation slowly began to shift from emotion to reality. It was no longer just about what fans wanted, it became about what actually happens behind the closed doors of one of the most secretive casting processes in Hollywood. Because while social media can amplify a voice, the decision of who becomes James Bond has never been simple, and certainly never been public. Industry insiders started weighing in, offering glimpses into a process that is far more calculated than most people realize. Casting Bond isn't just about popularity or appearance, it's about long-term commitment, global market strategy, and the ability to carry an entire franchise for years, sometimes decades. Producers don't just choose an actor, they choose a future, one that has to align with evolving audience expectations while still honoring a legacy that spans generations. That's where things became more complicated for the fan-driven movement. While Sam Heughan clearly fit many of the traditional criteria, experience, presence, and a strong fan base, there were other factors at play that fans couldn't control. Age, contractual flexibility, creative direction, and even timing all influence decisions in ways that rarely become public knowledge. In other words, being the perfect choice in the eyes of fans doesn't always translate to being the right choice in the eyes of producers. Then came a surprising detail that added a new layer to the discussion. Reports began circulating that Sam had, at one point, been considered for the role in earlier stages of the franchise's evolution. It wasn't widely known, but it was enough to spark a new wave of excitement and frustration. If he had been close before, fans argued, then why not now? But others pointed out that, almost, in Hollywood can mean many things, and timing often matters more than talent alone. At the same time, voices within the industry hinted that the next Bond might not follow the expected path at all. There were suggestions of a potential reinvention, a shift toward a younger actor, or even a completely different interpretation of the character. These possibilities didn't just challenge the campaign, they complicated it, forcing fans to confront the idea that the decision might already be moving in a direction they couldn't influence. Despite that, the campaign refused to fade. If anything, it adapted. Supporters became more strategic, highlighting not just Sam's appeal, but his versatility, his international recognition, and his ability to connect with audiences across different genres. It was no longer just a demand, it became a case, carefully built and continuously reinforced as more people joined the conversation. What made this moment particularly fascinating was how it blurred the line between audience and industry. For decades, casting decisions like this were made in isolation, revealed only when everything was finalized. But now, with millions of voices participating in real time, the process felt less distant, even if the final decision remained out of reach. It created the illusion of influence, but also the possibility that influence could become real. Still, one question lingered above everything else: does any of this actually matter? Can a viral campaign, no matter how passionate or widespread, truly alter a decision of this scale? Or is it simply a reflection of what audiences want, rather than a force that can shape what they get? And perhaps the most intriguing part is that no one has given a definitive answer. The producers remain silent, the speculation continues, and Sam Heughan himself has yet to step into the conversation. Which leaves the story suspended in a space that feels both uncertain and full of possibility. Because sometimes, the most powerful movements aren't the ones that succeed immediately, but the ones that refuse to disappear, quietly waiting for the moment when everything finally aligns. Still, one question lingered above everything else: does any of this actually matter? Can a viral campaign, no matter how passionate or widespread, truly alter a decision of this scale? Or is it simply a reflection of what audiences want, rather than a force that can shape what they get? And perhaps the most intriguing part is that no one has given a definitive answer. The producers remain silent, the speculation continues, and Sam Heughan himself has yet to step into the conversation. Which leaves the story suspended in a space that feels both uncertain and full of possibility.